Come on. And there we are, bada bing, right at 6 bells for Talk Time with TJ, Triple T, number 195, getting very close to that 2 bill section. My name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. In fact, I won't even claim to know. I just have a unique way of asking lots of questions that help people find the answers to the solutions they are looking for the change work that they are looking for. Whew, we're here. Made it another 7 days. Good to see your guys' smiling faces. And for those of you out on YouTube land, hi, Mom. Hi, Dave. And for the rest of you, hello. Please do me a big favor that costs you nothing, but sure helps the channel out. Take a few seconds to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, like the videos, leave comments, all those good things, and share them. If you think that any of the videos or any of the topics we've covered may benefit somebody, look, I'm not out here making money off of it. I just want to help people. That's one of the things I love to do. And I also have a website I'd love you guys to check out, thetswb.com. That's right, the tall, skinny white boy.com. That's what it stands for. Has stood for that since like 85, so way before the internet. So whatever else you find on the internet, that's not me. Tall, skinny white boy. That is I, and I am he. All the above, and you'll get a little insight to some of the things that I do. I didn't want to put everything I do on there because that would kind of freak people out. It still kind of overwhelms me when I read the list. But what I do get to help people out with that are listed on there, I have the privilege of helping people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief. I offer corporate coaching, and I work with with athletes from beginner all the way up to the pro level. That's been fun. And a lot of relationship stuff. If you know somebody that's having a little challenge in a relationship, or they would like to get into a relationship, but they don't want it to be the same as the last ones they were in, have them get a hold of me. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That's, again, free, no charge, 30 minutes for us to chit-chat on what kind of challenges and things you would like to work on. And if I feel that I can be of assistance, that I can help you achieve those goals, I'll let you know. I also promise you, if I am not a fit, if I don't feel that I'm the best fit for you, I will let you know. And I will do my best to help you find the right person to get the change work that you are looking for. And now it's time to introduce the tie of the week. And we've got a brand new tie thanks to Dave out there. Dave surprised me, sent me a tie. So, the new one to the collection. Are you ready for this? You may recognize...
Aw, that's so cute.
Ta-da!
That's awesome.
Yes. So thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. And let's start off with something good. Who's got something good to share with us from the last 7 days since we were together? Anybody got anything cool to share? Michael.
Man, oh man, I've been busting my tail. I've started a TikTok channel.
How's it going?
It's good. I'm getting some followers, getting some motion. It's Lunch Money
Awesome.
Club, on TikTok, and I'm tagging everybody I know. So if you can follow it, share it, help us grow. Lunch Money Club, at TikTok. I just did a thing for TJ, shared some stuff about him and because he's a business partner and things like that.
I
So,
guess I'm going to have to get on TikTok now.
yes, so get on TikTok and share our stuff, and we can help share your stuff as well. And I appreciate y'all.
Right on.
Very awesome.
Holly's got her hand up. Holly, are you there?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
There we go.
I'm having mic problems again. Okay. Love that, Michael. I'm so excited for that. I've also had a pretty amazing week, especially the past couple days. I'll just highlight one thing. If any of you have not read it yet, I highly recommend reading Viktor Frankl's The Doctor and the Soul. I finally got back to reading it again a couple days ago, or last night. I don't know. Days merge together when you work nights. But just the introduction alone has so much material crammed into it. So I'll probably have a lot of possible questions depending on how the second hour goes that might come from that. But yeah, it's been really awesome.
Very cool. Always love hearing about new things to look at, research, new books, and all that kind of stuff. I've been threatening to put together a book list. Started one and started one. So maybe I could make an extra page on my website and do some affiliate stuff there, get some books out, because we got a lot of friends making books and a lot of good books for reference. So thank you for the idea. Mark.
Yeah, things are going well with the missus, and in 2 days we will celebrate our 42nd wedding anniversary.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you. And I'll have
Wow.
a question related to that later.
Very
See,
cool.
and
I don't
I
know
got
what you
some-
get for your 42nd anniversary. I know it's not paper. I know
Well,
it's
it's
not
not
gold.
as long as it's not divorce papers, and then I think we're good.
Oh, I think
There
you're
you go.
good.
Very
Yeah, and I got some input from her as to, again, related to my question. I'll hold that for later.
looking forward to
Line up for an hour or two so far. Woohoo!
it. All right. Well, that I guess that's everybody there. I guess mine is tomorrow morning. We are heading out on vacay. Gonna go to Yellowstone. I worked there back in '88. Yes, before I was born, even back in '88, and got to witness the 200-year forest fire. Got to do a little firefighting and got evacuated twice and all these fun things. And I haven't been back since. So I'm looking forward to see what Grant Village looks like after all these years, if it brings up any memories, and check out a few other things. So that's mine for the week. Got to talk to the missus. I believe she did, actually. Yes, Lunch Money Club for hotel discounts and flights and all sorts of good stuff. So good stuff. And before we switch gears quick, Renee, do you have anything cool you want to share? She's like, I'm still trying to set up.
I'm still recovering from David's regression class, so
All right.
just got back from that here last week.
Oh, cool.
wow.
Yeah. I think out of all of his classes, that one's the most intense.
Yes, I remember it a couple of times helping with that class. So, well, I'm glad you made it. Good to see your smiling face here. We missed you. And for anybody that's new to Triple T, the way it works is it's a 2-hour show First hour, I do my best to try and get through 3 topics that I've picked for the week. And then second hour, we switch gears and it becomes open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can ask a question or bring up a topic. And I let the people on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And after everybody has answered and I feel like maybe I've got something I can add, that's when I add my 2 centavos. So without any further ado, time for the 3 topics of the week. And they are shame, good enough, and adult. So let's jump right in. Shame. Oh my goodness. It's interesting how it's almost like my clients get a little update email or something for the topic of the month, and shame has definitely been on the list for multiple clients in the last, I'd say, 3-4 weeks. And so if you've been around Planet TJ and Triple T for any amount of time, you know that the vast majority of my topics do come from my interactions with my clients. And this one obviously is the same. So, shame, what a word. Heavy, all sorts of, you ask lots of different people what their definition of shame is, and you'll probably get a whole lot of different answers, and then you ask them where they got it from, and a whole lot of different answers, and how much does it affect them? Whole lot of different answers. But at the end of the day, what I've caught on to is shame is one of those magical gifts handed to us, gift wrapped in barbed wire and neon, and we get to take it and make it what we want against our will and amplify it to the point that we were taught to. And I've had so many different scenarios, and some of them were, for all intents and purposes, people would say, well, that makes sense. You know, you should feel some shame for what you did, blah, blah, blah. And others were shame for things where most people be like, wait, what? What? Why do you feel shame about that? Why do you feel shame about doing good? Why do you feel shame about working hard? Why do you feel shame about surviving something? And it turns into a self-spotlight, self-gaslighting, self-abuse situation. And when it gets to where it has been around long enough to become familiar or a habit, the longer it's been around, the harder it is to reframe. It's almost like, and I had the word, and one of the squirrels ran them. By the way, if you're new to Triple T, we're going to be referencing squirrels. Yes, and if you don't know what squirrels are, squirrel. my squirrels know squirrels who bring squirrels that are related to squirrels that they invite just because it's a squirrel fest. Back to where were we? Because the squirrels ran by. Shame can almost become a form of cancer, as far as I'm concerned, because the amount that it eats away at people and the justifications for why it was given, and whether it was intended or not. And a lot of times I find when we dig down to it, down to the base of it, a lot of my clients don't really understand why they're hanging on to it. It's almost like that comfort zone in the sewer pipe. Well, I've just been here so long, it's kind of safe. It's a sewer pipe. Yeah, but I was told I had to be here. And then you look at people that have the ability to feel very little shame, or be able to feel it for a little bit and go, okay, yeah, that was my fault or whatever, but I'm over it now. What would you guys think would be some personality traits of somebody that has that ability to, if they've recognized shame, they were able to go, all right, yep, but that's enough, and move on, move forward. Anybody got any ideas on or how that might work? Lenora?
It has taken me quite a while to navigate the wonderful world of shame, and I definitely still navigate many things about it. The personality traits, I didn't realize how much of a loop I had been stuck in when it comes to shame, as in I would shame myself for things that most people would be like, what's wrong with you? That makes zero sense. And if I was speaking up, I would then shame myself because I thought I was being arrogant. And it was just this ongoing loop of trying to interrupt it. So when I think of somebody who doesn't feel shame, for the longest time, it was stuck in the people around me who would not feel shame about it were so much better than me. And I couldn't relate to it because I was so stuck, as in everybody else it would make sense for. But if I looked at myself and did it, it was that I was arrogant and that I should feel bad. And it just kept spinning. And it was a very terrible spin. I'm very happy that it's working its way through my system and out of my life.
And I do find arrogant or arrogance is another one of those incredible little ingredients that fuels that label. Holly.
You know, I am the poster child for shame. But one of the things that I've been thinking about, I read a thing a while ago that talked about the difference between shame and guilt. And different people have different definitions for different words, obviously. But the typical definition is shame means there's something wrong with me in my core. It's something that I can't change. It's just who I am. I am less than, I am whatever. Whereas guilt is there's something wrong with my actions, my strategy, whatever it may be. But if I take corrective action, I can make it better. And, you know, I could take feedback from other people and take criticism, you know, constructive criticism the way it's intended and that sort of thing. So the first thought that came to my mind is that you've got people who can feel, you know, they feel shame, But then you've got people who don't feel shame, but who also don't feel guilt. And then you've got people who feel guilt because when it's useful and right and take corrective action, and then let go of it when they've taken corrective action, but that don't feel the shame. And so my first thought is, yes, we do want to be that person. And sometimes I think we get so caught up that we're worried we're going to be the person who doesn't feel guilt, that we think we need to feel the shame. Because, yes, Renee put guilt, I did something bad, versus shame, I am bad. Exactly. And at least in my case, I think sometimes part of the reason I hold on to the shame is because I'm worried I'm not feeling guilt that I'm supposed to feel. And I think there's that big check-in of, am I saying I am bad, or am I saying that I need to change something? And I'd even say, so I did something bad can fall into two categories of I did something that I knew was wrong and it genuinely is bad, or I did something wrong, but I didn't even realize it was wrong. But now that I've got the feedback, I can make it better. And I think even those two are not in the same category as well. And it's okay for them not to be. So anyway, so traits, the question was, what are the traits of people who, when they start feeling shame, they're able to say, put it in its place. That's not a good emotion. It's not helpful. One of the things I think is just having a good tribe around you, so that when you get into the shame, you could check in with your tribe and say, hey, should I be feeling shame for this? And once again, should I be feeling guilt more than shame? Is this something that needs correction? And sometimes they'll tell us, no, it isn't something that needs correction. And sometimes they'll say, yes, it is, but they can also help us stay grounded and say, and once you correct it, it's okay if it takes a minute for you to correct it sometimes. And once you correct it, you can let it go. It's okay. And having that reminder, I think, is huge. And then the other one is just practice. When you start feeling that feeling, ask yourself, am I being motivated to be better? Or am I being motivated to shut down? As Carol Dweck says, do I have a limited mindset in that I'm trying to hide who I am, because shame causes you to hide? Or do I have a growth mindset where I'm saying, hey, I found something about myself that needs correction, and I'm willing to do what it takes to get correction, even if it means being out there and letting people see me not be perfect.
Did you notice that last part? Where does the vast majority of shame live on a timeline?
Childhood.
Huh?
Childhood.
Yeah, in the past. It's reliving, regurgitating, reassessing, giving labels to the past. And oftentimes I find that they're putting the shame on the entire incident without extracting the lesson and realizing that that was all you needed, was the lesson. Mark.
Yeah, it's one of those words where you can add, one letter or a couple letters and and it can change, okay, shame. Okay. Again, it's usually a pejorative. You should be ashamed. That would be something a judgment you'd lay on someone else. Oh, that's shameful behavior,
Yep.
Or if someone is, that's, you're just a shameless individual. You don't feel shame, or you can be shamed into something, and, the last one, yes. But, the last one is, I'm unashamedly a male.
Yes.
So I feel no shame about being, being a man, being a male. So again, it has to do with, again, ego strength, and whether or not, if someone's attacking you, and, how do you feel about it? Or if something from the past, comes up, how do you judge it? But all those little add-ons to shame, just way to perceive the, because the word can be attached to other things.
And as we know, nothing means anything until you give it a label. But man, shame is one of those labels that's like that sticky booger that you can't get off your finger. It just did. And I listen to my clients and the justifications that they have programmed into their mindset over the shame. And oftentimes I'll ask them, well, do you agree with that? Well, no, but is this something that you want to feel? Well, no, but
But
was this your idea or was it handed to you? Well, do you know who gave it to you? Well, yeah, but. And sometimes I have to remind them, are you over the age of 18? Well, yeah. You get to decide now whether you need to be shamed for what you did, for what you thought. Lenora.
I think that's one of the hardest things is I didn't realize that I was doing it to myself because it was so in reality transurfing they talk about a mirror that you're reflecting back. Everything that you're experiencing is reflection. And in that case, the way that I understood it was that I was so completely up against the mirror that I had no idea that I was doing it. And this is the beautiful thing where you get to work with practitioners and other people and they'll listen to your conversation. And I think that's something extraordinarily important is being able to sit with somebody and have them peel apart your conversation and recognize, but you're doing it to yourself. And as you're doing it to yourself, pay attention. So whether you want to consider it poking yourself or punching yourself or giving yourself a box of poop, whatever you want to consider it, but that's what you're doing when you're doing it to yourself. And to go back to that part or that version of you and have a conversation with that has been extraordinarily powerful. It really has revamped my entire world because it was something I didn't even know I was doing to the level that I was doing it because I was so in it. I was so wrapped up in it and there was no other narrative. There was no other default program. It was so purely mine.
That's the power of early childhood programming oftentimes. And to the credit of the people that did it, oftentimes it wasn't their intention. They didn't have it written down, today I will program so-and-so to hold shame for the rest of their life. A lot of times, and if you think back to some of your school friends, man, kids can be little pricks. I remember working through some of the stuff that I remember being said to me by my friends, my buddies, some of my fellow schoolmates, some of my early love interests who were so kind back then. And you wonder where you get some of this programming from. Now, some of it's pretty obvious. If you've got parents who were given bad programming when they were young, and they're only doing what they know what to do because the the rule book for parenting has only been rewritten. Let's see, what year are we in? Yeah, about 1,000 times a year. So multiply that, carry the one, and then yeah. So even the best teachers out there for how to raise your children, some of the best ones, have kids that are messed up. So you can only do the best you can. And we are the product of the best they could. And some of us got lucky. I mean, I look at friends and classmates, and I grew up in a pretty small town, so I can still run into quite a number of classmates and hear stories about some of them that fell through the cracks, shall we say, and some of them that came out and talked about the things they went through in their homes, and you're like, what? Really? What differentiated the two? How were they able to survive and all the above? That is the part of getting through. And Renee put in a comment, shame is like a black hole. It's a belief that you are unworthy or fundamentally bad, which leads to the feeling of being exposed or humiliated in the eyes of others, which leads to the desire to run away, hide, and disappear. And I'll add to that, beat yourself up for imaginary things that you think, thoughts, or figure you deserve or don't deserve, or all the above. And yes, that's why a lot of my clients come to me, and when I find this shame, I like to dive right in and go, you don't need to carry that around. Well, but you don't need to carry that around. Yeah, but you don't need to carry that around. For real? Yes, for real. And I can tell a number of times when it actually hits home, because they have the ability to look back at the load that they have carried for so long. Now, it's kind of like another metaphor is I was working with a friend of mine in a food stand, and they were bringing in bags of product, and each bag was 40 pounds. And they carried in 2 bags and set it down, and the look on their face, and I'm, you okay? They had been working on getting back in shape and losing weight. And they said, it just hit me when I set that down. I have lost 80 pounds. That was 80 pounds. I struggled to pick that up from the truck and carry it in here and set it down. And what a relief it was when I set it down And I carried that every flippin' day for years. And then I would go pick up 80 pounds with that 80 pounds on my body. And they said that solidified it. Never again. And sometimes you have to feel the weight momentarily to realize how much you've been carrying, to let it sink in whether or not you are going to let that weight set in again. Any comments, ahas, epiphanies on that? Holly?
Oh, loving this conversation. This is full credit to TJ for bringing this one to my attention. But if you're dealing with shame, a really good strategy is to first take a step back and say, if somebody else that I love were to say this to me, how would I respond to that?
Yep.
Taking that distance, I think, is huge. And then a couple other thoughts. A lot of this shame, I've been watching a lot of John Gottman and Julie Gottman. And for those of you who don't know, they talk about relationship pillars, and the number one relationship pillar,
Ollie?
there's 4 of them.
Hold on just a sec. Your mic is doing weird stuff again.
Oh no. Is that any better?
Talk
Is it-
some more.
Okay. Is this
Hey,
any
there
better?
you are.
Okay. Ah, gosh, I swear I'll figure this mic thing out eventually. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So I've also been watching a lot of John Gottman and Julie Gottman, and they talk about the 4 horsemen of relationships. And the number one relationship killer is contempt. And I
There,
think
that was the
shame
word.
is a response to contempt a lot of times. So obviously, when we're on the receiving end of it, we can only control ourselves. But if we want to go through our lives trying to not create shame in others as much as possible, I think a quick question you can always ask yourself, and I definitely need to ask myself this, is, am I currently correcting from a place of ego, or am I correcting from a place of humility, of recognizing that I have my own flaws too, but I actually genuinely want to help this other person get feedback? Because I think that's the difference between slipping into contempt without meaning it sometimes. And then the third thing that popped into my head, this comes from the reading Viktor Frankl, but ask yourself, when you go into shame, am I going into shame because I want to hide from responsibility? Because if I went into guilt, I would know there was something I could actually do about this. And so sometimes I want shame because it may hurt, but the responsibility is not there. And am I willing to take the responsibility to get rid of the shame?
As always. Good stuff. Lot of good nuggets there, young lady. Anybody else got any comments, ahas, epiphanies to share on that? Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to helping people with shame. Like I say, it's very common that they don't even realize the amount of weight that they're carrying. They don't realize the amount of pain they're inflicting on themselves, especially if they've gotten really good at it. Feels common. That voice, I know it very well. And it has told me I deserve everything that I'm feeling. No. I beg to differ. Lenora.
I tend to be more somatic in feeling things in my body. So in case anybody's ever working with clients, I can very specifically tell you where my body holds it. So sometimes what I'll do, depending on what is needed at that point in time, especially if I'm doing anything by myself, I will find a way to get it out of my body, and I will put it back in the person's body that it came from. And that can actually be incredibly powerful, because it's especially when you start to notice that if you keep this for them, if you take this on, one thing that I've often said back to my clients, because it just really resonated with me when I heard it, was, you're not a thief, Lenora. You don't take things from other people that don't belong to you. You're not a thief. You have to give it back. And that just really stuck out in my brain. I think that actually came from Brent Baum had said that to me. And at the time, it was also, he's a former priest. He's a former Catholic priest, for those who don't know. And that was very powerful for me because of the way that I was raised in the Catholic Church. So I can literally feel it leave my body, and I will send it back into the other person's body. So in case that's helpful for anyone or who's ever working with clients, depending on how somatic they are and how much they feel stuff, just an insight. Elijah came out tonight.
Elijah. And that's where a lot of times when I see my clients realize it doesn't belong to them. It's one of those horrible presents handed to you, wrapped in barbed wire and with a sticky bow. Here, enjoy this for the rest of your life. So many things. It's any other input, ahas, comments before we try and squeeze in one more? Well, then we're
Great
gonna.
topic. I could stick on this one for a while.
Yeah, we can always come back to it. We've got the second hour if you guys think of any other questions. But I'm going to try and fit at least two topics in tonight. And the next one, not so ironically, seems to have some fuel to add to that anyway, and that is the phrase good enough. Oh, good enough, yes.
Like the trifecta tonight.
Yeah, something like that. So, it's that very gray area, slippery slope. What is good enough? And when is it good enough? And what is good enough? And is it ever good enough? Or is that minimum stuff good enough? And the definition is obviously very personal until judgment comes from the outside. You've got people that are overperformers, underperformers, perfectionists. Perfectionists, we know, good enough is never going to be good enough, because they are striving for perfection, which unfortunately, as we know, it does not exist. And that's why one of the things I teach my clients is written up right there. Instead of perfection, pursue excellence. It will free the weight immensely. You still get to strive to do your best, to make it excellent. And then if you figure out a way 2 seconds later to do it even better, even more excellent, yay! And 2 seconds later, you can do it even better, even more excellent. But there will always be somebody out there that, regardless of how good it is, it won't be good enough. And I think we've all run across one of those people, that teacher that never gives out an A, that boss that just has to micromanage absolutely everything because it has to be done exactly their way. And one of the things when good enough is never good enough creates oftentimes is a combination of contempt and resentment, which becomes a cancer. And a lot of it will come down to intent and delivery. You know, there will be those teachers that it feels like good enough is never good enough because they always push you to be better. And then at the end of school, or when you get out into the real world and you realize that people don't give a rip, but because you were pushed that hard that you are above the rest of your competition, your peers, that's when one of the few times when you're lucky to have somebody who insists that good enough is not good enough. But you also get around those people that I'm sure we all have somebody that we can think of that it doesn't matter. You could come up to them and hand them a bar of gold. And when you hand them the bar of gold, what is their reaction? Oh yeah, gold. I hate gold. I prefer silver. What am I supposed to do with this? Where I can't even buy gas with that. I can't buy groceries with this. Oh my God. And you're like, for real? For real, real. So my question to some of you guys, what advice or how do you help clients when they have issues with dealing with people where good enough is never good enough? Honora.
When it comes to good enough, I often think, finish the sentence. So we can very quickly think, I'm not good enough. Okay, I'm not good enough at what? I'm not good enough at breathing oxygen. I'm not good enough for tying my shoes. And I encourage people to finish the thought. Where are you noticing it? And then wherever you're noticing it. So I'm not good enough to get that job. Okay. According to who? Where are these thoughts coming up and how are we looking at them? Because then we can have much more direction if we put them out in front of us. And then going, who's saying that? And I usually walk them through what I affectionately refer to as the shift protocol. So I have them spot it, I have them hear it. So whose voice is saying it? Is it their voice or is it somebody else's voice? Then putting it out in front of them, investigating it, framing it. So who might be able to come in that might have you consider that this thought is not necessarily accurate, especially because we can be so wrapped in a shame loop that we really do need somebody else to come in and talk to us or talk to that part if you're doing it by yourself, and then trading it in for another thought. Even if it's a little bit better, it doesn't have to be this massive jump. A little bit better or somewhere toward neutral so that they can start thinking from a more clear space and having that ability to extend what specifically are they thinking that they're not good enough at, And how might they be able to evaluate, especially because I've been stuck in a spiral of I'm stupid, and I couldn't find my way out, rather than going, oh, I'm not supposed to know about bioengineering because I never studied it. So it doesn't necessarily mean I'm stupid. It simply means I'm not educated on it because I never looked at it first to begin with. So I think that really helps being able to look at it from a very dynamic standpoint.
Great points. Thank you. Michael.
Right on. I gotta second that, Lenora. That's amazing. Asking better questions and having them describe it is the way to go. And when you do the reframing, you can go into like Esther and Jerry Hicks, and what they talk about is changing from one feeling to the next, to the next, to the next. What feels better? Okay, now it makes it feel a little bit better, and then make it feel a little bit better instead of just trying to go from here to there. I do it all the time in my industry and what I do. You always ask them compared to what? What would be good enough? And if you were going to describe it, what would it need to do? What would it need to have? What would you need to have to be good enough? What's it going to take to get you there? What can we do to get you there? And if they're mad at a company or mad at something like that, and you're representing the company, then you take it a step further and say, okay, on behalf of the company or on behalf of this situation, I apologize. And then take it a step further. Do you accept my apology on behalf of the company or on behalf of your parents or on behalf of this? And if they do, okay, now what does that look like? When you accept someone's apology, you now have to let it go and have them describe it a little further. So, because that's when we say things, we're trying to push them or sell them. It's a story. When they say it themselves, it's fact. And so I love what you did. You're amazing. And born and raised Catholic as well. So we're on the same page.
I was
Appreciate
blessed.
y'all.
I was blessed to go be across the street from Lutheran, 1/3 to guilt.
Yeah. Hey, but the good thing about the Lutherans is they actually teach their followers to be good financial stewards, be good with their money, and they've got all kinds of different things as far as retirement plans, So I mean, you always look for the good.
Yeah.
So
Holly.
Once again, loving this. It's once again exactly what I need to hear. One of my first thoughts is this goes back to the first topic of guilt versus shame. Shame's I'm not good enough versus guilt is my efforts weren't good enough, shall we say? And my first thought is, this is an identity statement. It's amazing how many people, when you say their efforts aren't good enough, they immediately turn it into I'm not good enough. So step one, take it away from being an identity statement and make it, my efforts weren't good enough this time. Also, bound it in time. And then, of course, one of the thoughts that comes to my mind, Dr. David Snyder regularly says, did you get the result? You don't have to dot all your I's, cross all your T's. If you got the message across, if you got the result you were going for, it's good enough. It absolutely is good enough. I think there are times that you don't even necessarily have to pursue excellence. If it's something that's a small thing, tying your shoes. Did your, shoes come untied during the day? Did your shoes fall off? It's good enough, And yeah, I don't want to discount the possibility that maybe there's a time you want to go for extra order and it's doing you all sorts of good to make sure your shoes are tied exactly perfectly. No problem with that if it's helping you. But if it's turning you into a shame spiral, it's time to let it go. And I've mentioned this show before, but I'll mention it again. 6 Days to Air talks about, South Park and the making of that show. They've decided they would rather be relevant and quick than spend, I can't remember what the exact quote is, but basically, you get the law of diminishing returns the longer you work on something. They'd rather get a good enough product out there that's timely and that's actually out there than spend several more weeks making it just a tiny bit better. So there are things in our life that we want to fine tune, that we want to make it the absolute best. There are some things that we absolutely should strive for the very tippy top, but there are also some things that if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. Let it go and focus on the things that deserve your attention.
Yes, and speaking of Dr. David, one of the sayings that I learned from him is an imperfect something will always be better than a perfect nothing. And I needed that quite a few times. There were a lot of projects that I spent so much time thinking about and planning and and meanwhile, the other person that just had to get it done, they had it done. They're on project number 7. And I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do the one because I wanted it to be that good. Lenora.
I'm going to share this very silly story just in case anybody is wanting to put themselves out on social media. So a number of you know that I make reels and I put them out to people, and I had made a reel and it was at a lower angle and I sent it to people, and it might have been like a personalized video. It might not have been like an official reel. And it was something along the lines of like, hey, I hope you're having a great day. If there's something that's holding you back, just know, like, go ahead and do it. We all have fear. There are plenty of things that I have fear about, and I still encourage you to go do it. Like, super respectful, super considerate, and just a fun thing that I did. And a person messaged me back, and rather than saying anything about the reel, they had said, you know, I got a piece of advice that I always remembered, that never to record with my camera down because it makes it look like I'm angled down. I'm looking down at somebody. And I could have taken that 2 ways. As in, did that guy just say that? But what I took, my response was something along the lines of like, nice redirect to tell me that I need to change my camera. And they put a smiley face back, and I put, an imperfect something is better than a perfect nothing. And that phrase has really, really stuck with me. So if anybody's hesitant to put themselves out on social media, I highly encourage doing it, because an imperfect something is better than a perfect nothing.
Well, Triple T is I put it off for 3 years. I had talked about it, been threatening to do it for 3 years, because I didn't think that I would have enough material to do 3 sessions. And this is session 195. Now, also for Lenora's person about putting the camera low, now, I could have come back and said, well, I just wanted it to look normal for the people that are around me, because there are very few people when I talk to that are up here looking down at me. So different strokes for different folks. And Dave sent a message claiming he is perfectly imperfect. Elijah.
Morning.
Good morning, my friend.
I can't tell if it's late or early.
Depends on your time zone.
I've crossed the line from mad to sane.
Right.
And back again, you know? Couple things. So I think the question was, how do you teach people how to deal with others who are giving them the not good enough thing, rather than how do you talk to someone who's saying the not good enough thing yourself? But it'd be the same thing. I would say to them, or I would teach someone to ask, how do you know? This is like my favorite question. Well, it's like my most used question. No. My second most used question.
I was going to say it's up there.
Second most used
It's
question.
a good one.
Right? How do you know? Because how do you know fishes for them to tell you what evidence they're using to support what they're saying? Right? So, I can just feel it. Or they might say, but I just know. Yeah, but how? How do you know? Oh, I read it in a book once. Okay. Did you read any other books on the subject or just the one book? Right? All sorts of things. And I keep drilling on how do you know, how do you know, how do you know, until I get sensory-based language. Because I see the way they look at me, or because it makes me feel like a certain something, or because that voice in my head says, right, and I hear. So once you get the sensory-based language, then you can really start playing with like the submodalities and things like that, and getting the change and shifting and all that stuff. So it's just how do you know, and repeated until you get sensory-based language. That's how you deal with it. But that's pretty much how you deal with anything. Then there was, you said, what did you say?
About what? About shame or enough?
No, not you. What did TJ say? TJ said something about, oh, he put it off for 3 years, right? When it comes to getting started, a lot of people are looking for the inspiration to get started. But that's actually backwards. You need to get started in order to find inspiration. It's only after you start moving that, either through feedback or through watching yourself back or through review or through, research of the doing whatever it is you're doing, that inspiration will come and you'll get ideas, and then you'll have more to do on your next video and your next podcast and your next post and your next reel and your next, so don't wait for information to get started. Don't wait for inspiration to get started. Get started in order to find inspiration.
And I'm glad you shared that, because that ties right into the amount of people that overestimate the amount of time and energy it will take to accomplish something, and underestimate their ability to do it.
Yeah, they look at the external. It's like, oh, this guy took 10 years to do it, so that means that it's also going to take 10 years for me to do it. And that's just not the case.
Yeah.
It's not the case, because you are different, right?
Yep.
And you've seen the 10 years it took for them to do it, and you know better, don't you? Because you've already seen that. Right? That's not to say that it won't take time, and it's not to say that it won't take effort. There will definitely be effort. There will definitely be a little bit of a grind, but it's always much quicker than you think.
Yeah.
Always. Go to the gym, right? Within weeks, what you think is going to take months and years, within weeks or within days, your body's going to start adapting. Your lungs are going to start breathing better. You're going to get stronger. You're going to, you know what I mean? Your body adapts so quick. It's unreal.
That's why there's so many 90-day programs. People are like, well, 90 days. And I know, because I own one of them, and I've done it 3 times. And the transformation in 90 days was crazy. The getting started and making it a habit was the biggest challenge. Lenora.
I believe it was from this group, and I believe it was from the lovely Holly. When you're needing to do something and you find yourself putting it off, just take one step toward it. Just start for like 5 minutes and make it that incremental step forward. And that was extraordinarily helpful. And you'd be surprised how many times I think of that when I feel like I have something daunting that I have to do. Like, no. And I will talk out loud. Just 5 minutes. Just focus for 5 minutes. That's all you need is 5 minutes just to get the ball rolling. Very helpful.
And speaking of 5 minutes, we're almost 5 minutes into your guys' hour. For those of you that tuned in late or this may be the first time you're watching the recording or part of Triple T, the way it works now, second hour is into play, which means we change tune a little bit, and it is now open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can ask a question, bring up a topic, and I let everybody on the call answer first. So please, if you're watching live on YouTube or watching a recording, please join us. We would love to have you here and hear your input, or just see your face if all you want to do is be present and listen. So who's got a question or a topic to start off hour number 2?
I do.
Out of the gates with Elijah.
This is a question for everybody here. Who wants to answer? If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But I would like it and appreciate it if you do. What is a ritual or hack that you do consistently that you cannot not do because you find it so beneficial to your life?
Ooh,
Just one.
great question. Starting out with Lenora.
I can't not wake up at 4 a.m. And I don't start working, if that's what you want to call it, till 7 officially. Like if I have to see a client that early, but those 3 hours in the morning are so wildly precious to me that I will, even if I go to bed late, I will still wake up at 4 a.m. just to have that time in that space to do the things that I want to do for those 3 hours. And it's not necessarily scroll on my phone. It might be workout. It might be do some other things for my business. It might be meditation. It might be journaling. It might be a variety of things, but I call it my me time, and it's incredibly helpful.
Good one. Who's next? Renee.
So this is something I've done relatively recently, but it works so well for me. I do it all the time. A lot of times I'll be walking around the house and it's like, I don't know what I'm picking up on, but you get angry, you get frustrated, you get this sense of anxiety that overcomes you. And I've gotten to the point, I stop and I ask myself, is this mine? And I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten the answers no. And then I let it go and I just send it, ground it out however feels best for you. But when your mind's racing and you've got all this stuff going through your head, and just stop and ask yourself, is this mine? And I can't tell you how much that helps. And that sometimes I forget because the voice is just, chattering away. But man, I have to say that's probably one of my favorite things to do, is whenever you have any sort of negative thought or anxiety, just do a personal check-in. If it's not yours, then I wouldn't, throw it in the dumpster.
Awesome. Holly.
So I'm going to change the question just a little bit because the truth is there's a lot of things that I know I'm a different person when I do them. And then I'll look at phases of my life where I didn't do them and I wish I had. So hopefully one day it will turn into I always do it because I can't not do it because it's so beneficial. But, full disclosure, there are times when even though it's so beneficial, I skip it, but I notice the difference. So anyway, the things that would be on that list. First of all, I have a gratitude journal. And because I can't have these things, take forever or I won't follow through on them. Basically, the rule is sometimes it's been 5 minutes, sometimes it's been 5 things, but I will just write about things that I'm grateful for. And it seemed like no big deal. And then basically I'll get feedback from other people. So I did that for quite a while. And then I had somebody tell me that I seem to be just in a really bad mood a lot lately and they didn't know why. And I thought about it. And I hadn't done my journaling for 2 whole days. That was enough that people were already noticing the difference in me. Another one, those of you who have probably heard of the quote unquote Coogee cult. I just was, meeting up with other people to do morning meditations. We set a time limit on it. We'd always do a gray room. We'd always do Barden image cycling. And then we'd basically, go through the Coogee and we'd go through the elements, or, and we'd have things we'd focus on and things we'd do faster. So we might do the wham bam gray room slam kind of situation. Sorry about that noise in the background. But so when I was doing that, I was a completely different person. And I don't think it necessarily matters what inductions you're doing on yourself. It's more the fact that you're doing an induction on yourself. And even if I did it for a while, where I just do an induction on myself every time I take a shower. So a shower, I will say, is one that I have gotten to where I do not leave the house unless I've taken a shower. So if I can add these things to something I'm already doing, like showering or dressing or whatever it may be, I'll throw them on that, and it helps a lot. They don't have to be long. So if you do wham bam gray room slam, you can have it take 30 seconds and you're done. But yeah, so some kind of induction where I'm doing cleaning, and then like I said, a gratitude journal. For a little while, I actually changed it to the element. The elements each have their positive transcendent emotion. So I actually rotated through the transcendent emotions. So one day I did gratitude, and then another day I do compassion, and another day, I do unconditional love, and I just journal about that. So that also worked quite well too. And then the other one that I noticed the difference is making sure I reach out to somebody I care about and connecting with somebody, whether it's just sending them, hey, I'm thinking of you, or reaching out for a piece of advice, or maybe they reached out to me. And like I said, those are the thing. Oh, and then one other one, finding some kind of words of wisdom. It doesn't have to be long again, but I like religious texts, I think, have stuff as long as you're reading them from the right place, or like Barden, or, there's lots of different books out there, Initiation into Hermetics, whatever it may be. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes and read a little bit of, Franz Barden or Viktor Frankl, or, maybe a little bit out of the Bible, or, whatever it may be, reading something that speaks to me and elevates me and puts me in a good mood. And then also state control. So those are my things that when I do them, I notice a huge difference in my life.
Wow. Great stuff. Who else has something to share? Well, I'll go. One of the things that I like to do is remembering 3 solutions for every event, situation, or problem that may occur. I've gotten pretty darn good at, when something comes up, making sure that I just don't knee-jerk jump to the first solution that pops in my head. And sometimes it's a little over analysis, but I've learned that taking that little extra time to go, okay, this could work. What other way could it be done? And it seems to be an effective process. The other one is telling myself repeatedly the statement when I'm dealing with humans in their natural environment is they're doing the best they can with the tools, knowledge, and energy they have available to them. I don't know what they're going through. Protective empathy. It's not about me. I don't know what kind of day they had. I don't know what's going on with them. But I don't need to take their energy along with me for the ride. Just like Renee pointed out, you're like, wait a minute, is this mine? No? Return to sender. Address unknown. So that's a couple of mine. Anybody else?
I suppose I could give you my own personal one.
I was curious to what you had, Elijah.
Theta wave binaural beats. Okay. Some of the meditations that I listen to use binaural beats, and I find that I like the theta ones the best. And so about 20 minutes or so, even if it's not a meditation, I will just put a theta binaural beat on in my headphones and listen to it for 20 minutes in a day. And in that time, it just kind of clears everything, and I don't, it's like having a reset button pushed for me, partly because the intention that I set before I do it, but I find that when I don't listen, it's like I don't have to listen to a binaural beat to get into theta state, but it helps to guarantee it. Do you know what I mean? So, but if I could spend 20 to 30 minutes within a theta state, be it a trance, be it by listening to binaural beats, be it whatever, then I really notice the difference on the days that I don't do it.
Yep. And for those of you that are watching the recording, if you don't know what binaural beats or theta and all of that stuff, it's really easy to look up online, and YouTube actually has quite a number of recordings of audio with binaural beats that you can put on for work time and things of that nature.
These days you can get something called FLAC, F-L-A-C, which is free lossless audio codec, and it's a way of recording that maintains and keeps more of the data within the recording than an MP3 would, and so you get the true reproduction of the intended recording, and that I find does actually improve the quality of the experience.
Very cool.
I use a streaming service called Tidal for my music.
Yeah, Tidal's really good. Yeah,
it's really good, and you pay twice as much for it. But you know, I'm a sound guy. I have an ear for it, and I can definitely notice a difference. I mean, extremely high bit rates and sound quality that rivals CDs, better than CDs, as good as a record. It's just amazing. I listen to binaural beats and also certain frequencies. I have a list of frequencies for clarity or healing or what have you. And I'll mostly do that when I sit in bed. One of my practices is journaling, like you guys, some of you guys. Journaling is so effective. It's like you're talking to a friend that's never gonna hear what you have to say. Generally, I have stacks of these books, and like somebody's gonna hear it one day, or maybe somebody's gonna read it someday. But it's really for me, just to get clear, write down all the great things that happened during the day, even the challenges that I hopefully overcame that day using certain practices, and you're just reiterating your day rather than, I asked somebody the other day, like 3 days ago for dinner, what did you have? And I don't know. It's like, unless you define your life to a certain extent, it just like one day runs into another, or can, at least I can look back at that book and go, oh yeah, I remember that, I wrote it down, I defined it, and in the moment, it just feels good. It's like again, like I'm speaking to a friend. A friend just happens to be me at the time, And the other thing was two other things is alone time. Like Lenora, you're 4 to 7. Mine is generally like that's when I'm going to bed around 3 or 4, right? My alone time is like 1 to 4 a.m., you know. And I love it because there's no phone calls. It can be total absolute silence, which
The
is
world is quiet.
magical. Oh
It's
my
total.
God.
It's
My
amazing.
world is so quiet. I can go outside and I live in the middle of San Diego, but it's almost like sometimes I'm in the middle of the desert. I can't hear the freeways. I hear the wind going through the palm trees. I hear the night birds maybe flying around, Look up at the sky and there's like the pastel sky with, the moon and the stars. It's like, thank you. One of the most powerful things I think most people need to do, and more often than not, they don't, is to be alone. And like you don't have to do anything. You get to be, you get to be. And the last thing is music. My life is like every day there's something with music. I play music or I listen to it. I DJ also, so I'm always listening for stuff to play. So music is like it's as powerful as silence. It heals. If I'm feeling a little bit off or whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put on one of my systems and put on some reggae or even some like I think I mentioned like Duder, the airy fairy stuff. Music, baby. It's like walking on the beach. That same kind of healing power, and it's always there. It's always there. So there's always, like you said, three solutions every problem. It's like there's always some place to go, right? And generally it's outside of your head and recognizing the beauty and the wonder and the splendor of what's available to you right now, all around you. Yep.
Yeah, anybody that's DJ'd for any amount of time understands the power of music.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to set the mood when you can read the crowd and decide if it's time to get them pumped up, if it's time to get them to cool down, if it's time to get them to relax, all the above.
Yep. Very powerful.
I know you guys are shocked to tell that or to notice that I enjoy music.
Yes.
And even my neighbors listen to great music,
Oh yeah, mine too.
whether they want to or not.
Yep. Yep. I've had my neighbors say that they will hold up their phone with what do you call it, Shazam
Yes.
on, because I like to play unusual different stuff and just mix it up a lot. And they're like out there like, oh, what is that track? So it's that sharing aspect, also sharing that energy with other people.
Yeah. Very cool.
I was an early backer of Shazam when it was in its development stage.
Uh-huh.
Long before it became a popular app and long before Apple bought it out. I've been using that stuff for decades.
Yeah. What a great tool.
It's such a good tool.
Oh my God. Yep.
Anybody else got any rituals they want to share? Or is it time for a new question, new topic? Okay. Dead airspace.
There were a couple of people that had questions.
Yes. Mark.
Yeah, I had a question I wanted to put before the group. In a couple of days, I'm gonna have my 42nd wedding anniversary, and thank you. And I asked my wife earlier. I said, "What do you think is one of the key elements of a good marriage, a long marriage?" And she said, "Humor." That I think I think relationships that last laugh. And, like I say, I always try to make her laugh. And, um, you know, um, I think, just a couple, one other thing that I think is key to it is, adventures. So, but I'd like to get the input of the group as far as, I think of some of the key elements of a good marriage, one that's going to last for a long, long time.
Good question. So, who's got an answer? Renee?
Communication. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. You can go first, Greg, if you want.
Oh, communication comes to mind. Good communication, being able to feel safe to say what is need to say rather than hold on to things. And when you do that, resentment builds. So, being able to be in a safe space where you can talk about anything and know it's not going to go any further than between the two of you, I think is key. Absolutely, one of the top three is sense of humor, wit, keeping things light and childlike. Like you're just a couple of kids maybe, and you're just having fun playing. That's really, really important. We get too damn serious. Oh my God, too serious. Also, the nice physical aspect of a partnership. Sharing those moments together alone, and doing those things that you can each enjoy. That's pretty critical, I think. And adventures too. Always adventures. Can't keep it mundane. That habitual thing. Like, no, let's go do something. Let's go camping. Let's go hiking. Let's go fishing. Let's go for a walk. Let's go do something outside the box that takes a little bit of courage or something, Yeah. Understanding, of course, empathy, being able to listen, right? Maybe just that, a lot of that. You don't always have to talk. You can just listen. Nod your head a lot. Yes, absolutely. You're right. Yeah, I get it.
Now let's see what Renee comes up with.
My list is a bit shorter. Don't hold your partner in contempt, and always give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're on your side. Don't make it adversarial. And the one thing that I always appreciate from my other half is random acts of kindness. So it doesn't have to be expensive. He'll go out and pick flowers just out of the front yard and have little arrangements that suddenly appear on my nightstand. Whenever I leave town, he knows it's really hard on me, so he likes hiding sticky notes everywhere. So I'll like get into my toiletry bag and I'll be, I love you, Hugs and kisses from the puppies would be another one. And there'll usually be like half a dozen of them. And it usually takes me, I don't know, half of the time that I'm out to find them all. Like I'll reach into a pants pocket and there'll be one. Like he's pretty sly with it. But
very sweet.
He is very sweet.
It's those little things, isn't it? It doesn't have to be monumental. You don't need a big diamond ring or expensive meal. It's those little things of recognition that I really like you. I really like having you around. I like when you laugh. I like when you smile. I like when you feel good. It's not that difficult. But it's the opposite of selfishness. Well, I guess it could be selfishly motivated because he feels good doing that for you and seeing your reaction. And that's okay, but it's really about your joy and your happiness. That's great.
Holly.
So I can only answer this from an academic perspective, but as I mentioned, I've been watching a lot of the Gottmans, and if you don't know this, the Gottmans can watch a 5-minute clip, actually sometimes even shorter, of a couple talking about a difficult topic, and they can predict with something like 97% accuracy if that couple will be married 6 years later. And so the things that they look for, some of them have already been kind of mentioned, but and these are going to be lack of, but I'll kind of frame it the other way too. So first of all, the 4 horsemen, if they show up. So the low level one, criticism, which then escalates to contempt. And then you have defensiveness, which escalates to stonewalling. And often these build on each other. If those things are present, it can cause problems. But I can kind of summarize some of those of saying, is it, when you have a problem, is it you versus them? Or is it us versus the problem? And when we approach it, do I see this as, I'm approaching this from a place of, I know I also have my problems, or you are the problem? That can make a huge difference. They say if those things do show up, another thing they look for are what they call repairs and turning towards. And so we kind of mentioned some of those, is this a thing that they joke a little bit and they, are they taking little digs at each other with their jokes? Or are they joking about the fact that this is even something that bothers them in the first place? Or, is it building each other up with the jokes kind of thing? Or if you notice that you did something like criticism, do you then reach out and say, oh, sorry, how are you feeling? Kind of touch it, reach out to them. They said that, they also said that one of the number one reasons, it escalates to other things, but one of the number one reasons relationships don't survive is a feeling of loneliness. And yeah, that may escalate to other behaviors, but loneliness is where a lot of it starts. They also, of course, mentioned knowing your partner's love language and actually fulfilling that love language. And then also, so this goes to contempt and criticism, but do the couples have harsh startups or soft startups? So, when those of us from, Dr. David Snyder's world, you could also call these softeners. Do you use softeners in your language? Or do you just do a harsh startup and go in at somebody? So, there's a bunch of other things too, but from a scientific standpoint, they can use those factors to predict with 97% accuracy if a couple's going to make it. So I think those things matter.
More great stuff. Lenora.
So this is slightly off of, this is more on like a present idea. Something that I love to do, especially since smartphones were invented, is I will take videos of the most random things, like putting in a flagpole or something funny, and I will take videos constantly. And hilariously, something happened the other night, and then my husband and I just literally laughed for like 10 minutes in bed about it. I'll tell you a really quick story. When I travel, when I come back home, I get very disoriented. I have no idea I'm back in my house for like the first 2 nights, 3 nights that I'm sleeping back in my house. And even if I go to bed, I have to remind myself, like, I'm home, this is my bed. So I'll wake up very discombobbled. So we came back from Florida. First 2 nights, had no idea where I was. 3rd night, I was okay. 4th night, I had no idea where I was. And I woke up and I asked Gary, I'm like, where are we? And he goes, we're at Aunt Linda's. And I walk to the bathroom in my own house. And on the way to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I'm like, we're not at Aunt Linda's. Why would he even say that? And I got back in bed and I'm like, babe, we're home. We're not at Aunt Linda's. Can I tell you, well, I've never once in my life slept at my Aunt Linda's house in Florida, ever in 15 some odd years. So I woke up the next morning and I'm like, well, you were just as confused as I was. Usually you're the one that's okay. And so we laughed hilariously for 10 minutes about it. And the entire time that we laughed hilariously about this, I recorded the entire conversation. So my suggestion to you, Mark, is for you and your wife on your 42nd anniversary, sit down with your phone or on a Zoom camera and just start recalling funny stories back and forth. And whether you go for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is, or like quirky things that you'll say, because I promise you, you won't remember what you said. And then when you watch it now in 2 years, you're going to laugh hysterically at what you said. So those are my thoughts for what you should do on your 42nd anniversary.
Also, Holly.
Loving all this stuff. I just realized I forgot one of the big ones from the Gottmans. Another one they mention is, and this gets to, being able to laugh at things and remember the good times. So kind of two things. One is 60% of relationship problems in a good relationship can never be solved. But they say you've got to take the attitude of, if you have the attitude of we have to solve it all or we can't stay together, you're not going to make it. But if you can laugh at it, if you can have fun at it and just realize, you know what? This relationship is worth it even with the problems. And the analogy they used is if you have a bum knee, you're not going to go around saying, I wish I could amputate my leg. It sucks that I have a bum knee, but I still appreciate the fact that I have a leg and I love my leg in spite of that fact. That's kind of the attitude to take. And then the other one, of course, is the Lesotho line, which says that you need to make sure you're having at least 7 positive interactions for every 1 difficult interaction that you have.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Very good stuff.
And Fran joined us from down under.
And joining in on the tail end of a conversation, being the veteran of 3 divorces, it's often worth, it depends on the situation, of course, but working through stuff, there's got a lot to be said for it. And no, it's more difficult the other side if you don't continue on in a lot of cases. But, wisdom of hindsight, what more could have been done? Neither route is easy, but one can contain more regrets than the other. But again, every situation's different. You can't make a sweeping statement. But wisdom of hindsight, there's a lot of things that I wish I hadn't done. Because once you sever a relationship, it's very much more difficult to mend.
Yes.
So working with what you got, everything's sorry, it's a huge subject, but I wish
Love
I'd
you,
done.
Fran.
And you joined us after the topic of the question. Mark and his wife are on the other side of the exceptional side. They're going to be enjoying and celebrating their 42nd anniversary. Yeah, and so the question is, what are some of the tips, some of the ways to make relationships work and stay together?
So I was completely on the wrong side of the
Oh,
conversation.
no, because you reminded us of the importance of the tips.
Yep.
And what were some of the tips some of the things that you enjoyed? Because I'm going to assume you didn't get married the 3 times because they had nothing good about them.
There was a lot of good about them, and I'm sure if the right conversations had taken place at the right time,
Yep.
it's all about people. It's all about people. It's the canoodling thing. You grow on your own paths. You need a certain amount of your own path, but you do have to have that conversation to pull it back together again. And one of the difficulties of what I experienced was separation, as in working away from home over periods of time, that you lose that contact. A relationship, you have to keep working on the connections, in my opinion, and to pull it back while retaining your individuality.
One of the ones that I teach my clients for relationships is those three magic letters, ABT. ABT, ABT, ABT. And for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, I originally learned the original part from Dr. David Snyder, always be testing. But I, of course, had to put my twist on it. And there are two ways to say it. Always be testing. And all ways be testing. And my wife heard me say that one time, and she was like, well, you're not testing me anymore, right? I'm like, no, I'm always, always. Because I don't want to wake up one day and find that we've drifted too far apart to get back together. I'm testing for me because I have to, that one of the things that I teach my relationship clients is even if you're in a relationship, even if you're married, you write down everything that you want in a partner. You're not writing a diary about your partner. What do you want in a partner? And you use that as a mirror for what can you improve about yourself.
Yep.
And the number of and I'm not saying I've had a lot of married couples that have come to me, but I've had enough, and I told them I'm not a marriage counselor, I'm not a marriage therapist. I will work with you individually. And I even had one lady that came to me because she was feeling guilt about thinking about leaving her husband. And I had her do this exercise. And she found a few things about herself that she recognized that she wanted to work on. But the other interesting part, because we here understand the power of energy and intentions and all of that stuff, one of our sessions towards the end, she goes, I know there's no way he has found my journal. There's no way. But I swear he's read it because he's becoming that person that I put in there. He's changing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, which came first, the chicken or the egg, the intention or the result?
Cause and effect.
I said, did you change yourself? Well, yeah. You did the homework, you're getting the result.
And on those lines, to be able to actually see the person as you would love them to be and accentuate every time you notice the qualities that you want can also help that general moving in that direction as well.
Yeah, because I had to reiterate a number of times. Do not describe your partner that you have with you. Describe the partner, your perfect partner. Use that as a mirror for who would you have to be to deserve or attract or be a partner for that person. Good and bad. And what you write down the things that you wouldn't want. And of course, that's easy. And this one time, you know. But I said, okay, what is it about you now that you could change to improve? And I'm working on it too. I was a bachelor for a long time. And so I've got some independence traits that aren't always exactly the best for a relationship.
And it's really important to continuously be focused on what can you bring to the relationship. What gifts can you bring to the overall happiness of your partner?
Yeah. Yep. When the only person that you had to be good enough for is yourself for a long time, becomes a challenge to be evaluated. Lenora.
I know we've gotten a smidge away from Mark's question. I do think, at least for me, and I know I've said this before, I think Disney had a huge hand in my thought process. And then she lived happily ever after and did not properly prepare me for marriage. And I think one of the massive benefits to being in groups like this and being in the communities that we're in is we have a deeper understanding of ourselves, and we continue to do the best that we can and recognize there are things that are absolutely on us and there are things that are absolutely on our partners, and what we want that to look like and how we want to enjoy our life. And I think it also gives more to encouraging people to be creators of their experience and what they want that to look like. And if it is with the person that they're with, great. And if it's not, that's okay too. It's not that there's a judgment about it or that there's a shame. It's that they've gone as far as they could together, and now they might be better off parting ways. Mm-hmm. But I think it just is very much an ongoing evolution of ourselves.
And on that topic, two of the couples that I worked with chose to not stay together, but it was the most amicable separation beyond what they ever imagined, because both of them just realized we are evolving humans. And they realized they had become friendly roommates and wanted more than the other person could offer. And they didn't come to that conclusion with any malice or resentment or anger, because they had put the work in and they had communication. And so that was also kind of an eye-opener for me. Holly.
I've got kind of a tag-on question to this topic. So someone who's basically been single my whole life, when I ask people about, relationship advice and things like that, the number one advice I seem to get from people in relationships is, oh, it's a lot of hard work. You don't know how lucky you are. You could do whatever you want. Your life is to yourself, all this stuff. But they're all in relationships. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if you didn't want to be in a relationship, you could get out of a relationship. Like if it's so awesome, you could join. And I've always found that interesting. But I found after, 40 years or whatever, I guess not full 40 years because I probably wasn't doing it when I was 2 years old, but after decades of being told this, it's kind of starting to sink in. And there's a part of me wondering, I'm too old to be in a relationship. I can't teach an old dog new tricks. Don't want to give up my freedom, all this stuff. So I'm just kind of curious, could some of you tell me, is it worth it? And if so, why is it worth it to kind of, counteract some of those messages?
Well, I got married for the first time at 53, so you got a little ways to go yet, young lady. Michael.
Yeah, I waited till a long time myself, so there's no hurries, there's no worries. The question I want to ask you is, Holly, where do you want to be? What would you like to see in your life?
That's a really good question. I'll admit, kind of the first thought that comes into my mind is I would have loved to have been in a relationship years ago. That's like, I can't have what I wanted. I don't mean this to be too dark. I have to change what I want. I'm kind of in the process of finding it.
Your mic
Right.
dropped again.
Yeah, it was kind of breaky, but I heard a little bit.
Oh no.
So what
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm redetermining that because I know what I wanted like 10 years ago. I definitely wanted a relationship, all that didn't happen. So I'm kind of in that process of trying to rediscover what I want.
My best advice on that situation is talk with TJ, number one, and then look at what you're looking for in a relationship and what your future self wants to be and define it. So like, for example, would you want a partner in crime or a partner in joy, a partner in life? And then you work with TJ and his kind of analysis as far as, you make friends and you see where you kind of go and you like somebody and then you progress. When you look into a relationship, it's kind of like in the past when I was doing a lot of dating and I would date someone who was newly single, who has a child and things like this. And I'd explain to him, say, okay, look, first of all, I'm not looking to be a baby daddy or anything like that. I think number one, your priority needs to be your child. And whoever you're dating, whether it's me or anyone else, they need to understand that your priority is your offspring first. And then if our lives come together, then great. If they don't, they don't. But you need to look at it wholeheartedly and where you want to go and what you want to look, because this is your experience, not someone else's. And you need to be accountable for yourself first and be true to who you are. Does that resonate?
It does. I'll have to let it process. There's a lot processing right now, but that does help.
Yeah. And here's the cool thing. No matter what you choose is okay and is right, because there is no wrong in this situation, because you're the one who has to be with you and your choices and decisions, and it's all okay. And we love you no matter who and what you do and what you are, because you're amazing.
Yep, you're stuck with us. To say, Mark.
Yeah, probably I would say it's the little stuff, all the little, when you're in a relationship, the cool thing is the other person lets down their guard and, you see all their, all your, peccadillos and all theirs and, and it's okay, but it's all the little things, I like, again, but it's all the tiny things, the way she laughs, see her up in front of a classroom when she was teaching and just the incandescence when she had a group of first graders in front of her. It's all the little stuff, all the little tiny things that, and you gotta, look at yourself too. And like I said, what, kind of what you guys, TJ was alluding to, like I said, I grew up with a OCD mom, and so the toilet paper had to be on the roller, with, and coming over the top. That was the only way it was right, and she used to leave it on the side of the sink, because that was her habit, until one day I realized I'm the only person on the, and I would get irrationally annoyed at that. And I realized I'm the only person on the planet that actually, is getting annoyed by the fact that she doesn't put the paper on the roll and she doesn't have it over the top. And I just laughed at myself for, and but I reframed it. I was like, you know what? She's leaving it out there so I can put it on the right way. So, but it's all the little things. Like I said, again, that when you're in a relationship, like I said, you notice the uniqueness that each person brings to the relationship. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being perfect for each other,
Sure.
And if all those little things, like I said, again, and, I like, and you just always focus on, the things that be making life special, being with that person in your life, that, but it could be a look, it could be a glance, it could be a way a person laughs. I mean, it's individual, and, but, just, but it's when they say it takes work, well, again, you have to validate the other person and be able to say you're sorry and you're wrong, and and that again, but also, like I said, but I think really it's all the little things, I mean, that story that Laura told us of, they're just, they're laughing for 10 minutes in bed. That's a core memory, as they say, with Inside Out. She's always going to carry that core memory around of her and her husband laughing in bed. So it's all those little things that kind of add up, I think.
That's why triple P stands for Perfect Partner Protocol, not Perfect Person Protocol.
And on completely the other side of the picture, there is nothing so lonely as being close to somebody and feeling totally alone.
Yes.
So sometimes being a single person is much, much better than that.
Yeah. I've said it many times that being lonely when you're single sucks. Being lonely when you're in a relationship sucks 1,000 times more.
Yep.
And I've been the lonely one in a relationship. I had a number of long-term relationships before I finally looked in the mirror and went, "What's the common denominator? Oh, that would be me. I need to work on me before I do anything else." And then that's when I met my wife, Renee.
So this is just based on my personal experience. You can take it or leave it. I kind of go by the 80-20 rule. I know people are attracted to novelty, but I noticed that I think the reason why me and my husband work so well is that 80% of us lines up pretty well. Like we feel like we're on the same path together. But at the same time, you need sprinkles. You need a little thing to spice it up. So there needs to be he has his own thing. He likes playing mad scientist out in the shed, and I've got my cooking and my animals. But there's that, and then your 3 top criterion values. Make sure that those 3 are in alignment. the 3 things that are really important to you. I mean, if lying's just like somebody that you can trust, it's a no-go, then put that on your list. But choose those 3 things that are super important to you, Holly, and make sure that they check them off. And everything else that everyone else has been talking about, humor is huge. The little things end up becoming the most important things. I mean, he'll pick me dandelions and put it on the nightstand, and I just think it's the sweetest damn thing ever. And like I said, it doesn't have to cost anything. It's just because I knew he was thinking of me, and he did something sweet. So
Cool stuff.
that's my 3 cents.
Oh, and do you know why funny guys get the cute chicks? Because when you're laughing, your eyes are closed most of the time. They look better.
That's why that works.
Yes. That tops off the top of the hour and brings us to the close of yet another Triple T, number 195. I am so thankful for you guys showing up here every week to make this happen. I lack the true vocabulary to tell you how much it means to me. And for all of you out in YouTube, love you, Mom. And thanks for the tie, Dave. And for the rest of you in YouTube, I love you all as well. Please share this around if you found something good in it. Do all the YouTube stuff. Click the subscribe, ring the bell, leave comments. Please leave comments. I like reading the comments. I ain't gonna lie. But for the rest of you, thanks for your precious commodity of time. I still don't know how to reproduce it and give it back to you. As soon as I do, you'll be the second to know. Until then, love y'all, big time. Have a wonderful week. See you back here in 7. Take care. Bye.
Appreciate you,
Night
TJ.
all.
Thank you.
And
Bye,
if you
guys.
get a chance, TikTok,